The stars shimmered in quiet judgment above Earth, unaware, or perhaps waiting. From the edge of Saturn's orbit, a shimmering distortion cut across the black. It widened, deepened, and opened like a scar across space-time, disgorging the vanguard of the Tsar Dominion. 37 ships emerged in perfect triangular formation, each a sleek shard of obsidian-colored alloy, humming with restrained power. They were not here to conquer, not yet. They were here to assess. Commander Vale, standing aboard the Xerxes Rain, tilted his elongated head and observed the blue orb that dominated the forward viewport. Primitive, he muttered in his native tongue, the syllables sharp and clicking, filtered through the neural vocalizer for his crew's understanding. Their signals are erratic, non-encrypted. Analog waves still litter their atmospheric band. A child's planet. No active defense grid, no orbital platform. Their weapons rely on combustion, said Tren, his communications officer, telephone-tipped fingers dancing over a crystalline console. The ocean swarmed with metal hulls. Likely ceremonial, possibly tribal. Vale permitted himself a rare, indulgent smile. Excellent. Their mission was not diplomacy. The Dominion's policy was efficient assimilation, achieved through brief technological superiority and targeted subjugation. Yet Earth, catalogued merely as S-197 Beta, had been an anomaly. Its existence was known for decades, but it was quarantined for reasons above Vale's clearance. That restriction was lifted 2 cycles ago, with vague warnings about unpredictability. Vale considered those warnings a result of outdated intelligence and bureaucratic fear. After all, no species had resisted the Dominion in over 200 years. Still, standard protocol applied. Scout-class vessels were deployed, dropping through the thermosphere like droplets of obsidian rain. They pierced the clouds silently and vanished into the Pacific mist. Vale observed the planetary scans, dispassionate. Several human naval units loitered below. Clunky silhouettes with gunmetal hulls and rudimentary propulsion. One of them bore the designation USS Vengeance. Vale ignored it. Then the anomaly flared. A reading surged through every ship in the fleet. A signal spike from beneath the ocean floor, masked until now by deep thermal vent activity and electromagnetic static. Tren-S screens blinked red. Subterranean energy surge. Not nuclear. Not Dominion class. Vale stepped forward. Location? North Pacific. Coordinates cross-referenced with a fleet staging zone. Multiple human ships nearby. But they're not the source. The anomaly is rising. Silence took the bridge as everyone watched. A bloom of dark water, roiling and parting as something massive emerged. Not surfaced, ascended. An object tore from beneath the sea, shedding water in glistening waves. It dwarfed the human vessels, though its shape echoed theirs, a long, armored hull, but impossibly sleek. Its skin shimmered with a metallic sheen unknown to their scans. There were no registration codes, no thermal signatures, and no visible crew. "What is that?" one of the lieutenants whispered. The Dominion sensors failed to categorize the object. Its energy signature was erratic, alien even to them. Then it spoke. A voice rang across open frequencies. Not a signal, a broadcast. "This is Admiral Cassandra Vale of the Aegis Rising. You are trespassing in Terran territory. Power down your weapons and prepare to be escorted beyond the gravity well." Vale's mandibles twitched. "Is this a threat?" "She speaks the trade tongue," Tren whispered, astonished. "How?" More importantly, how had they concealed such a vessel? The Aegis Rising turned slowly in the air. Its anti-grav arrays hissed faintly, glowing with teal arcs of plasma. Across its flanks, turrets unfolded like mechanical flowers. Silent, smooth, confident. The Dominion ships bristled instinctively, their targeting arrays locking on. "Commander," said Tren, his voice lower now, "this ship's material doesn't register. It's not Earth steel, not Dominion alloy. It's something else. Some of it resonates, like ours. Impossible. You think they reverse-engineered." A blinding light burst across the clouds. The Aegis Rising had fired. No projectile, no missile. A lance of pure white energy sliced between 2 scout ships, disrupting their formation without touching them. A warning shot, yet terrifyingly precise. One of the ships spiraled momentarily, its control systems fried. All units evasive. Vale barked, but it was already chaos. From a human fleet below, the illusion shattered. Other silhouettes shifted and gleamed, shedding old hull plating like a skin. Beneath those dull exteriors, shining weapons bristled. Railguns, particle accelerators, advanced stealth systems. Vessels that were once symbols of 20th century warfare were now wolves in naval clothing. Cassandra Vale stood calmly in the command bay of Aegis. Her face was lit by the glow of targeting data and fleet telemetry. Around her, Earth's oceanic fleet came alive with movement. She tapped the command on her wrist console. Bring us to visual orbit. Let them see what Earth has become. A junior officer nearby hesitated. Ma'am, are you sure they won't escalate? Vale glanced at the image of the alien flagship, still hovering in stunned silence. They thought we were still afraid, that we hadn't learned. Let them understand this. We learn from them. Every crash, every fragment, every incident they try to cover. Another officer interrupted. Ma'am, Dominion ships are charging weapons. Vale's lips pressed into a firm line, then make them regret it. The stars above Earth had not changed, but the war beneath them had begun. In space, Vale stared at the ship still hovering defiantly in the air. It defied his expectations. It defied the Dominion's arrogance. A human ship. No, a statement. Rising from the depths to meet them, he leaned back from the command rail and hissed a command. Full fleet retreat. Recalibrate. This was not the greeting we expected. The sky remained still for a breathless moment. Then the Aegis rising began climbing toward orbit, leaving trails of fire behind it. The battle hadn't started. It had merely declared itself. The Aegis rising pierced the stratosphere like a blade too long sheathed, its hull shedding remnants of ocean vapor in steaming ribbons. Admiral Cassandra Vale stood motionless at the forward observatory, hand behind her back, boots planted with the precision of a career built on quiet defiance. The ship's grav plates subtly adjusted to their new orientation as they transitioned from Earth's upper atmosphere into orbit. Her reflection in the reinforced glass wavered beneath the stars, hard eyes, streaks of silver through otherwise dark hair, and a controlled expression of someone who had seen too much and revealed too little. Around her, the command deck moved in practice synchronization. This crew wasn't green. They were ghosts of a war Earth never publicly acknowledged, veterans of Black Ops projects too classified to have names. Status of the Dominion fleet? She asked without turning. Commander Hayes, her tactical second, responded crisply. Regrouping just beyond lunar orbit. We caught them off guard. Scans show scatter formation, possibly confusion, in the command chain. Vale nodded once. They didn't expect to be challenged. They didn't expect us to exist. Hayes replied grimly. The Aegis rising had been Earth's most jealously guarded secret. Conceived in the aftermath of the Rosetta Downing incident and built inside the Mariana Vault beneath crushing oceanic pressure, it was the apex of every stolen technology, every fragmented alien circuit, and every broken promise made by governments that swore humanity was alone. It wasn't the product of any one nation. It was a child of Earth's hidden war. And now it had been seen. Cassandra's eyes tracked the Dominion ships on the tactical overlay. Sleek, silent, and arrogantly aligned, they reminded her of predators that had never known hunger. The largest, presumably their flagship, had begun to orbit Earth in slow, patient spirals, watching, not attacking, not retreating, learning. They're analyzing us, she muttered. Let them, Hayes said. They'll choke on the data. But she wasn't so sure. Dominion arrogance wasn't born of ignorance. It was forged in centuries of conquest. They would adapt. They always did. What unnerved her wasn't their firepower. It was the calm, as if they believed, even now, that this was a minor setback. Send a signal burst to Echelon 5. Secure band. Let them know first contact has escalated. Hayes hesitated. Won't that trigger global alerts? Better the world is terrified than blind, she said. Below them, Earth turned slowly, unbothered, unaware. In the silence of space, the Dominion fleet began to reposition. On the Xerxes Reign, Commander Vale watched the ascending human warship with renewed calculation. Its design confounded logic. It bore human lines, hull plating, gunmetal framework, but something deeper thrummed inside it, a vibration beyond machinery. It resonated like tech carved from Dominion principles, but reshaped through desperation and instinct. "Commander," said Tren, his data readouts pulsing with activity, "we've confirmed. The energy matrix within their vessel uses phase harmonics, similar to our own, but fused with non-standard ion layers, adaptive shielding, variable displacement. It's not mimicry, it's innovation." Vale's expression tightened. "They built it from our ruins." "We destroyed all crash evidence," Tren protested, though it sounded hollow. Vale didn't reply. He didn't need to. The truth floated before them in the shape of a defiant warship rising from a backwater planet. Another Dominion officer approached. "Orders, Commander?" Vale turned slowly. "Do not engage. Yet. Observe. Find its weaknesses. This is no longer recon. This is a recalibration." Back aboard the Aegis, Vale received the report she'd been dreading. Multiple Dominion scouts have broken formation. They're moving slowly, cautiously. Looks like a testing maneuver. "They're probing our response radius," Hayes said, leaning over her shoulder. "They want to see how far they can get before we swat them." "Then swat one," she replied coldly. The order translated instantly. A dorsal turret rotated and locked onto the nearest vessel. No war drums, no sirens, just a faint hum, and then a brilliant, silent arc of energy that tore through the darkness and struck a Dominion scout cleanly across its midsection. The ship didn't explode. It died, lights dimming, engines failing, and drifted silently toward the void. A second later, a burst of static roared across their comms. Not a language. A tone, deep, resonant, almost organic. A warning? A scream? Vale's brow furrowed. "Run analysis on that sound." "It's not a word," Hayes said. "It's a response signal. Maybe emotional. Fear." "Send this back," she said. "Use their frequency. Modulate the tone." A beat passed. Then another. On the screen, Dominion ships began to slow, regroup, and hold position. Cassandra exhaled slowly. "Now they know." "Know what?" "That we can hear them. That we understand more than we should." Behind her, an alert chirped. A Dominion beacon had just activated far outside lunar orbit. A second fleet. Reinforcements. "They're calling in reinforcements," said Hayes, scanning the data. "Bigger ships. Capital-class signatures." Vale turned. "Then it's begun." From Earth's surface, the skies remained deceptively tranquil. But beneath the waters, in hangars carved from tectonic shadows, the rest of Earth's hidden fleet began to stir. More than a dozen warships responded to the Aegis Rising's emergence. They had names like Iron Horizon, Celestial Pike, and Morningfall, ships that had never surfaced, never been spoken of in any press release or military archive. They came from every ocean, cloaked in Old World silence and New World firepower. Cassandra stared at the tactical display as one after another lit up green. A secure channel flickered to life. A familiar voice came through, gravelly, amused, and battle-hardened. "You always were the one to kick the nest first, Cass." She smiled for the first time that day. "Nice to see you again, Admiral Rao. You made quite the entrance." "They didn't expect us to play chess with warships." "This isn't chess," she replied. "It's checkmate with variables. I brought the Pyrewin and Hallow's Cradle into high orbit, ready to link fire matrices." Vale nodded. "Then we stand together." High above them, the Dominion regrouped. The second fleet was nearly there. Cassandra knew they wouldn't come with curiosity. They would come with fire and silence. But Earth wasn't silent anymore. The Aegis Rising hovered like a blade above the world, patient, unwilling to flinch. Cassandra turned to her crew. "We are no longer a rumor. We are no longer a secret. Today we tell the stars. Humanity is not prey." And somewhere in the cold, starlit dark, the Dominion listened and wondered, for the first time in centuries, what it meant to be afraid. The void between Earth and the moon had never felt so small. Admiral Cassandra Vale watched from the command balcony as the Dominion reinforcements emerged from deep subspace one by one, their hulls cutting across the black like crescents of scorched onyx. The first ship dwarfed even the Xerxes Reign, which had once held the record for the largest known Dominion vessel. This new one, designation unknown, bore an exoskeletal ridge structure unlike anything previously encountered. Its surface shimmered with living circuitry, glowing veins of soft amethyst and molten gold. It did not coast into position. It arrived, fully aware of its presence, its authority, and the message it brought. They sent a Primarch class, Hayes said under his breath, though every syllable hung like a funeral bell. Cassandra didn't blink. That's not intimidation. That's escalation. Commander Hayes turned to her, voice low. They're not just here to respond. They're here to end this. Then they think they still control the outcome. Vale tapped her comms. Status report on the Morning Fall and Hallows Cradle? Both in orbit. Stealth systems active. Particle arrays charged. Standing by. Patch me through. The screen split to reveal Admiral Rao's scarred face, half-lit by crimson warning lights. They're bigger than anything we trained for, he said, getting right to point. That pre-marked ship? I'd say it eats stars for breakfast. Vale nodded, but it still hasn't fired. Yet, Rao added grimly. Behind her, the crew remained silent. Tension had calcified in the room, but not fear. These were warriors born not in glory, but in secrecy, in the crawl spaces of Earth-forbidden science and haunted intelligence programs. They had trained for a day the world hoped would never come. That day had arrived. Tren's voice echoed through the Dominion bridge aboard the Xerxes Reign. They are stalling, analyzing. That lead human vessel is the key. Commander Vale folded his limbs behind his back, studying the Aegis rising through layers of filtered data. Its energy signature continued to pulse in uneven, adaptive patterns. Never predictable, never vulnerable. Every attempt to triangulate a weakness resulted in corrupted data. They built something alien, Vale said softly, but the mindset that drives it, that's human. Unrefined, unafraid of chaos. Tren hesitated. Commander, there is more. The energy profile from the Aegis, it's not just Dominion tech. There are echoes of something older, something pre-Dominion. Vale turned sharp. Clarify. I cannot. It should not exist. But I believe they've integrated remnants of the Akori. That name had not passed Vale's lips in centuries. A vanished civilization that the Dominion had erased from archives and memory alike. The Akori had not lost the Dominion. They had vanished, leaving behind nothing but silence, and scattered ruins so old they whispered of an empire that saw the stars as stepping stones. If true, Vale whispered, then we must not let them grow further. Aboard the Aegis, a new signal pulsed into the command deck, a focus beam transmission from the Dominion fleet. Not open frequencies, not a bluff, a direct channel. Cassandra signaled to patch it through. A hologram unfurled across the bridge, refracted through 1,000 fragments of colorless light. Commander Vale's image emerged, tall, angular, and still. You speak for your planet, he said, his voice a precise amalgam of sound and intention. Why have you violated our ancient protocols? We never agreed to them, Cassandra said calmly. Earth was quarantined. You watched. You tested. But you never asked. You were not ready. We made ourselves ready. Silence. Vale's head tilted ever so slightly. You have unearthed technology beyond your design. You have created abominations with it. And you have committed 1,000 wars in the name of order, Vale countered. But that ends now. Vale paused for the briefest instant. Then his image dissolved. No confirmation. No threat. Just silence. Hayes stepped forward. What now? We hold position. Let them make the next move. We've already forced them to reconsider the cost. But the cost was coming. Sensors flared as the pre-march ship began a charging sequence. Its hull shimmered as its energy lattice reshaped. It wasn't a weapon, not in the traditional sense. It was drawing power from nearby quantum distortions. It was calling something. not reinforcements. Something worse. The data lit up like wildfire. "It's not charging a weapon," said a technician, eyes wide. "It's opening a rift." A circular distortion spun open like a tear in reality, stretching with a sickening ripple that twisted even light. From it came a new vessel. No, not a ship. A construct. A monolith that defied measurement, its form constantly shifting, like it refused to settle into a single dimension. Vale stared, voice hushed. "What the hell is that?" Rao answered over the line, voice grim. "That's not Dominion. That's a Corey." Cassandra understood now. This wasn't about dominance anymore. This was about secrets. The Dominion hadn't come to destroy Earth. They came to suppress what Earth had unearthed, what humanity had activated without understanding. The construct pulse once. Across every ship in Earth's fleet, systems flickered, not from damage, from interference. Memories, thoughts, even emotions. The human mind recoiled from the object as if it recognized something older than memory. Hayes staggered. I can hear it. Not words. Ideas. Cassandra steadied him. "Stay focused. They're trying to use fear." "No," he whispered. "It's not them. It's it. That thing, it's speaking in concepts." Her heart pounded, but she remained outwardly composed. "Then we teach it, Earth speaks back." She gave the command. Across the sky, Earth's warships broke stealth and roared into formation, their hulls bristling with defiance. The iron horizon, long buried under polar ice, took point beside the Aegis. The morning fall pulsed its targeting matrix in sync. They formed a ring, not retreat, but resistance. The rift's energy flared. But this time, humanity did not flinch. Cassandra narrowed her eyes. Fire. 1,000 beams converge at once. Light, plasma, magnetically sheathed particle streams. Weapons that shouldn't coexist on the same battlefield. Earth's fleet unleashed hell upon the rift-born monolith. Energy collided with its surface in an orchestra of fury and brilliance, lighting up the sky in a halo that would be visible from the planet's surface, if anyone knew where to look. But for all their power, the human weapons left no mark. Not a scratch. The construct absorbed the assault, not by shielding, but by allowing each hit to pass through layers of fluctuating geometry. It adapted instantly, its surface folding into impossible tessellations that made eyes water and instruments fail. Aboard the Aegis rising, Cassandra Vale clenched the railing, the cold steel grounding her. "Hold fire. Reroute charge energy containment systems. That thing, it learns faster than we can shoot." Hayes looked like he wanted to object, but didn't. His jaw flexed, sweat beating despite the regulated air. "It's not attacking. Why isn't it attacking?" Vale stared at the monolith, at the way it hovered in space as though anchored to another dimension. Because it doesn't need to. The Dominion had withdrawn into a cautious arc formation, circling the construct at a distance, observing. Even Vale's flagship, the Xerxes Reign, hung back in eerie stillness. The enemy wasn't controlling the monolith. They had summoned something they barely understood. Then the wave came. No explosion, no beam, just a psychic impression that hit every living mind in the system like a thunderclap of alien thought. Vale's knees buckled for a split second. Around her, trained officers gasped, gripped consoles, bit down to keep from screaming. One technician vomited. Another passed out. The thought that had hit them wasn't a message. It was a memory of extinction. Vast cities carved into moons. Civilizations that stretched across nebulae. Then fire. Collapse. The monolith had watched it happen. Or caused it. Vale staggered upright, blinking hard. Her voice was raw. Full mental shielding. "Now, I want neurodampeners at 100%. Some of the fleet didn't make it?" Hayes said grimly. "We've lost contact with Celestial Pike and Vigilance Cry. No damage reported. Just silence. They were overwhelmed," she said. "Mentally compromised. That thing's a psychological weapon." Admiral Rao's voice cut through the comms, his tone ironclad. "We're shifting into suppression formation. There's an opening. It's repeating memory pulses, which means it's cycling. Distracted." Cassandra nodded. We hit it where it's weakest, its focus. A burst of blue-white energy screamed across space. The morning fall had fired a concentrated gravity spike, warping the space around a construct in a cone of violent distortion. For the first time, the monolith reacted, staggered slightly, its geometry stuttering. The opening was brief, but it was real. Hit it again, Vale ordered, right at the moment of distortion. Coordinated strikes fired from multiple ships. Plasma lances from Hallow's Cradle, beam disruptors from Iron Horizon, and a synthetic quantum storm from the Pyrewind. The construct adaptive patterns began to fracture, struggling to maintain coherence across too many changing attacks. Inside the Dominion command deck, Vale watched in silent awe. They're forcing it to evolve beyond its capacity. Tren said, "It's fragmenting." "It wasn't meant to fight," Vale whispered. "It was meant to remember." Humanity turned a relic into a target, and targets could be destroyed. The monolith reeled, its dimensional integrity finally collapsing in folds. Not exploding, folding, as though it had simply grown tired of existing in the wrong shape. Light bled from it, then sound and presence. It vanished. The silence afterward was deafening, not in the physical sense, but the stillness of a predator gone, a cosmic breath held. Earth's ships didn't cheer. They held formation, weapons primed, expecting retaliation from the Dominion fleet. But the Dominion didn't move. Commander Vale stood at the forward observation pane of the Xerxes reign, hands clasped. His gaze met Cassandra's across the infinite gulf, as though distance was meaningless. For the first time, he bowed his head, not in surrender, but in recognition. A message followed seconds later. Dominion frequency. A single line of text parsed into Earth's language protocols. "We see you now." Cassandra felt a weight lift and settle all at once. "They're pulling back," Hayes said, disbelief in his voice. "They're really leaving." "No," she said. "They're pausing. This isn't over. But they understand the cost now." Admiral Rao chimed in, voice calmer now. "And we understand the stakes." Earth's fleet began to reposition. Damaged ships returned to orbit. Recovery shuttles launched to reconnect with mentally overwhelmed vessels. For all their success, the costs had been steep. But humanity had done the unthinkable, stood before an empire and an ancient force, and survived. In the quiet, Cassandra Vale stood alone on the command balcony, watching the stars swirl back into silence. Hayes approached slowly. "Was it worth it?" She didn't turn. "We've always asked if we're alone. Now we know we're not." He nodded but didn't speak. "We've woken something," she continued. "Something older than the Dominion, and we stood our ground." A pause. "And if it ever comes back, we'll be ready," she said, steel in her voice. Because Earth was no longer silent, no longer hidden. The stars had seen them now, and they would never forget.